Oh my God!
He's making it sound so raunchy.
Are you ready?
This is one of the greatest covers of all time. Of all time.
Try to see things my way. Do I have to keep on?
The first thing you hear is how fucking noisy these instruments are.
So much simpler than I remember it.
Mm-hmm.
And listen to how shitty that piano sounds.
Enough alcohol, and eventually this song gets set up.
Yes.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Professional Musicians React. I'm super excited about today. We are going to dive into best keyboard intros of all time. We have some amazing professional musicians with us today. We got Ryan Lerman, guitarist and bass player for Ben Folds, musical director for John Legend, and of course, my co-founder and partner in crime in Scary Pockets. We got Larry Goldings, pianist, organist, composer. Larry has played with everybody from De La Soul to Norah Jones to Tracy Chapman and so many more. I'm not going to read Larry's entire resume because it would be the entire episode. Ryan, take it away.
On Whirly 2, we have the one and only Chris Pooley, who has been music director for Katy Perry, American Idol, Gwen Stefani, countless others. This is Jack Conte, also known as the CEO of Patreon and star of the band Pomplamoose and Scary Pockets, as well as his collected solo works.
Engineering for us is Hope Brush. Hope, welcome. We're psyched to have you.
Thank you.
Hope is going to be answering questions for us throughout the day and correcting us when we are telling blatant lies on the internet. Before we get into it, what is a song or an album, keyboard-based, a keyboard player, that just was like, oh my God, this record set me on course to be a keyboard player and to dive in and to play in a way that I never did before, that you could recommend to folks at home here?
I usually go to Billy Joel.
What was your entry point into Billy Joel? Was there a record or a
You know,
song?
it could have been Just the Way You Are.
Yeah.
The bad times, I take you just the way you are.
When I think about how that Rhodes electric piano made me feel, and the little jazzy notes in there that were like, wait a minute, why is this different than your typical 1-4-5 type of songs? That was the other thing. It's just like, I got to tell Billy Joel once that I learned about harmony through learning his songs.
Yeah.
And it was great. We had a real connection. He said, really?
For me, Largo, the Meldau record. Yeah, it changed the way I thought about like jazz and modern piano music.
That also came out when we were in high school, right?
Damn, you guys are young.
All right, Chris.
I started playing piano probably around 11 or so, and I was into classical, and I liked that because pop music was also kind of my parents' music. I was like, well, I'm gonna be
More sophisticated.
very sophisticated.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it wasn't really until high school and later that things started to kind of. I mean, a Meldau album for me too. That, how do you say it? Elegiac cycle. That was a big one for me.
All right, well, let's jump right into it. Beck, where it's at. If we're talking about iconic keyboard riffs, this is a very iconic keyboard riff. This has got to be in the top of the list. Let's play the tune. Beck, where it's at. Here we go.
Punch.
Wow, that gets really bright. I didn't realize how bright that was.
Comes on strong.
Yeah. First things I hear. Like the first thing you hear is how fucking noisy these instruments are.
Yeah.
Listen to that buzz in the background. It's I mean,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
solo whirly, just like you're gonna have that zzz thing happen in the background. It's the first thing I hear. Hard not to hear.
I think I've probably seen no less than 6 whirlies advertised as the whirly that Beck played this intro on.
Really?
For sale, yeah. You go on Craigslist, it's like every other one's like, this was that whirly.
Do they mean the exact whirly or like this
I think
is
they
the
mean
model?
no, I think they mean the exact one.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's also it's really so specific as a sound, as a texture, that part, if Beck was sitting at the piano, that part probably wouldn't have come out. He wouldn't have come up with that part. Or if he was sitting at a Rhodes, he probably wouldn't have come up with that part.
Yeah.
I also love that it's, starts real minor and then it ends major. Yeah. Which is very, Beck has a way of just slipping in those little surprises too.
One thing Beck does a lot is he'll sing a minor melody over major chords. That's just his vibe. He's got this thing going, and he does this kind of sharp 9 sound, or not even sharp. He's just singing a minor blues over a major chord progression,
Right.
which is like this major lovely thing, and then this minor weird thing.
Right.
And yeah, if it were an F natural, then it'd be.
Yeah.
Which is just like a complete, obviously.
It
totally
sounds like
different
something we heard at synagogue growing up.
thing. It does actually.
Yeah.
It does. All right, let's move on to the next keyboard intro here. This is Billy Joel, Piano Man. Billy Joel playing piano.
Bojack.
There it is. There's their tape history. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's.
Let it out, Chris. Let it all
We
out.
both just laugh.
I mean, it's just as a piano player, anytime you're working or gigging, it's at some point it's the Freebird
right.
of piano songs.
Totally.
Enough alcohol, and eventually this song gets set up.
Yes, I love
And
that.
God bless it, but it's definitely one of those like this. It's almost like it's easier. You think of the song "Piano Man" ahead of the actual piano playing. I don't know. It's like the story dominates,
Right.
which is
Yeah. He loves jazz. He's definitely not a jazz piano player, but that is, part of the theme of the song. He sets it up with this piano bar
It's the
kind
story,
of
yeah.
sound. And listening to it now with more schooled ears and stuff, it's a little corny sounding to me, but I think it's perfect because it's sort of amateurish-y, and the song is about a guy who just works at a little piano bar.
yeah.
And if it was too good, it wouldn't fit the story as well.
I think it's a really good point about it feeling like a part of the narrative
Yeah.
of the song.
Yeah.
That he's thinking about the arc and the story, and it fits so well with the lyric
Right.
that it just makes sense as the intro.
It's so intentional.
It feels, you're right.
If the song didn't have that at the start, it would be missing so much.
Yeah.
It would be weird to just start on that.
What do you hear as a keyboard player, Chris, when you hear this intro?
I hear 3 1-hour sets, $125, and 2 drinks.
Right.
So mission accomplished then.
Yeah, I mean,
he
that's
set the freaking scene.
It's it. It's exactly it. And you're right. It's cool.
Yeah,
you
it's
said
like a
about the
bright
story and
piano.
amateurish and like, oh, here we go.
Yeah,
Settle in.
even the sound of the piano
Yeah.
sounds like the piano that would have been, because it has to cut through.
Yep.
It's in the corner of the bar and it has to cut through all the noise. And
Yep.
Yeah, and
Sounds-
it could all be accidental, but it works.
Did you guys hear? Someone told me there's that hotel bar on Wilshire or something like that he used to play at when he moved to LA. He used to play at this bar on Wilshire that was like the bar that this story that he was writing about. I forget the name of it.
The executive.
The executive room.
The executive room. Yep, that's correct.
Okay, let's move on. Stevie Wonder, We Can Work It Out, from Signed, Sealed, and Delivered in 1970, written by McCartney and Lennon.
This is one of the greatest covers of all time.
Oh,
It's
of
great.
I
all
agree.
time.
Yep.
Let's go straight into it.
And not known a lot by everybody.
I know.
Here we go.
Try to see things my way. Do I have to keep on talking till I can go on? Why you see it your way? On the risk of no.
Talk to us, Larry.
Okay, it's
turn
all
this.
about how that feels, right? And it's like all the distortion on that thing. You know,
Yeah.
it's a clavinet.
Is
I
it?
don't think it's a Wurlitzer.
Yeah.
That's a clav.
Yeah.
Clavinet.
That's a clav.
So
It's like distorting a preamp.
yeah.
and it's-
It sounds like preamp distortion to me, right?
As opposed to like an overdrive pedal.
Yeah. I don't
What's
think-
interesting is that the way that Stevie usually used the clavinet was sort of like as a guitar
Yeah.
type of instrument.
Yeah.
Yeah, super
This
funky.
is really more like a
Like a keyboard.
It is a keyboard part.
Yeah.
But he's making it sound so raunchy. And what comes, he is setting up the funk already with that intro, which only a couple people like Stevie Wonder could do at a solo instrument. You know, apparently.
Yeah, I mean that's why that stuff is so hard to cover too, because
Yes.
the layers they're one thing. You can get the 6 or 7 people actually playing that clav part, the exact notes, but it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah.
No, it'll never
Totally.
And it's like that, like, you know, my day job, that's what we're doing, is trying to figure out, like, on Idol, trying to cover those parts.
Now, part of it is like he just knows innately. If you play too many notes
Yeah.
on a Wurlitzer part
Yeah,
or a
marks it.
clavinet part,
Yeah.
it's too many.
Yeah.
And also the distortion, like we were saying, adds the feeling that there's more going on there. So you got to thin it out.
What's the first chord? The first note?
Pretty sure it's E flat,
E flat.
F,
E flat, F, and C.
like an E flat.
Okay, so
And the
that's
C
9.
resolves
Right.
down to the B flat.
So what I'm hearing implied is F7 and then E flat 7.
Oh, I don't hear that at
and
all.
then-
I hear
and
E
then
flat as the
D flat
tonic.
7.
I hear E flat as the tonic.
It's in E flat.
Oh, okay. D flat 7. Right. Yeah.
And that's like what he's implying.
That's the
Right.
implication.
Yeah.
But if you had all that information, it would sound bad.
It's way less cool.
Oh, that's so interesting. He's playing 3 notes
Yeah.
Playing
in
little
clusters.
Skeletal.
Yes.
Here's my E flat. Here's my D, because I don't want to give away all those thirds. You know.
That's such a weird, interesting choice.
Yeah.
So if you trying to analyze his approach to the cover extra of just the intro, he's adding an intro with new chords and a melody. He's changing the feel of the song in a big way. He's changing the production by adding all these background vocals, going hey, all those crazy vocal things.
On
Like,
4.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
taking the bones of the song that make it awesome, the lyric and the melody and the chords, and just changing all these other elements to make it his own. To me, it's like textbook, like how to crush a cover of a song.
Yeah.
My favorite covers are the ones where people say, let's take a nugget of something about the song that is magical and throw everything else away.
Yeah.
And bring that thing into the foreground and then reinvent everything else. Those are my favorite covers where it's, I mean, it just comes from, I guess, the jazz tradition of doing something in a completely different way, completely different harmony, completely different instrumentation.
That was fun.
Okay, this is
cool.
Jump by Van Halen, released in 1983. Here we go.
Come on.
Oh my God!
That is one of the most epic things.
So what synth would that be?
Oberheim 2.
OBXA.
OBXA, that's what it is. The Oberheim OBXA is a polyphonic synthesizer from Oberheim, made about 1980 to 82. Used on a lot of band songs, but even more soundtracks like Blade Runner and stuff like that. I mean, usually when the guitar player gets a synth, it's bad. It's
bad
not a
for
good
everyone.
thing. Yeah. But in this case, yeah, he just kind of went to town, and that's Eddie playing that.
Yeah, I don't know, Chris, can you play that on a whirly?
It's a, was it C?
Can we turn your keyboard? Oh, there you go.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing. I mean, it's like the most. You take the shape of your hand and you just put it down.
Yeah, it's
in these spots.
bonehead.
It's
It's a bonehead part. Can you?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. And it's literally, it's the shape of your hand doing this.
That.
Can we talk about the production of this too? Because it's not, I mean, I actually think it's a really cool part to play that, to open with the one, that tonic so strong in the bass like that, and then to hit the 5 on top.
Yes.
That's pretty hip, right? That's
Yeah.
like,
Yes.
that's like so much tension and such, and then to resolve. That's beautiful. Like, what a cool choice. A couple other things I noticed. I'd love to hear your take on this too, but it sounds like it's like, I actually know nothing about the OBXA, so I'm probably going to make up a whole bunch of shit. But that is not one oscillator. That is multiple oscillators
yeah.
with a little bit of fine tuning between them. So they're actually playing slightly different pitches.
Right. Okay, an oscillator is basically converting voltage to a sound. It can be noise, it can be a sine wave, it can be a square wave. You can hear the phase sweep on them.
You hear some of the phasing, and you hear that trumpety kind of. The reason it sounds like, actually, the reason that the like brass is like a common sound on those 80s synths is because that's the sound that you get when two trumpets have intonation problems,
Right,
and they're
it's
not
chorusing.
quite they're
Yeah.
not quite playing the same note. And you can achieve that with two oscillators by adjusting the fine tune between them and keeping a little bit of space, which is what gives it that full orchestral feel as opposed to just like a single sine wave.
That's a very brass part.
Right.
You know, that's brass writing. That's what you'd write for an orchestral, you know.
What do you mean by that? Why is that a brass part?
Well, it's a close together. Three. That would be a huge sound.
Yeah.
You know, for three trumpets,
Yeah.
just playing straight triadic, you know, voicings that lead to each other. Good voice leading.
That is like such an interesting thing, I think, about the way music evolves over time when you go decade by decade. A lot of the compositional elements don't really change, but the sounds and textures change.
Totally.
But the sounds and textures are almost imitating old sounds and
Yes.
textures. Like, if you made this record in the 70s, it probably would have been a
Yeah,
brass
let's get
section.
brass in.
Totally.
Yeah. Bop,
But then this, right.
100%.
And then they said, we don't need to pay any brass players. We have the OBX.
We got Van Halen, yeah. Okay, let's move on. Here we go. Imagine John Lennon, 2010 remaster.
So much simpler than I remember it. Mm-hmm. And listen to how shitty that piano sounds.
So out of tune.
And
Slapback.
as he loved on his voice, the slapback, he's got it on the piano as well, which makes it so memorable.
Yeah, it's an iconic part of the intro that most people don't think about.
I always thought there was more going on. How does it go again? Funny, I don't remember those fifths.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't either.
It's
Amazing
like
how
a-
one note can add so much color and emotion.
Yes.
When he brings that 9 in, it's like a heartbreaking note.
All these colors that are just perfectly making this something way bigger than 1 to 4.
Yes.
You have the 9, you have the Lydian, and you have the chromatic thing.
Chromaticism, like in the John Lennon Imagine that we were talking about. Those are all chromatic, meaning you're just moving up half steps. You're moving as the smallest amount you can on the piano, and that's chromatically.
You're right. There's three things about it that
Make
really.
it bigger than 1 to 4.
And there's probably the fourth thing that makes it really not bonehead is the voice leading is just nice.
Right.
He moves as little as possible between those chords, but the three things are the hangover of that melody note when he hits the 4
Yes.
chord. He doesn't go. Imagine all the people.
Yeah.
The people. It's the people. And it's that
That's what makes it Lydian.
that resolution gives it that
The suspension.
suspended
He's
sound.
suspending the major 7 of the 1 chord to make it the sharp 4 of the 4 chord.
Yes, that's brilliant. Yeah.
Plus, he's foreshadowing the melody while doing all of that in the intro. There's just so much more going on than meets the ear.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna take a couple questions from Discord. This is from Secret as One and Man. If you had to, if John were with us, do you think he would still be recording? What would his music sound like? Quentin Tarantino has a quote about this with filmmakers. He's like, look, sometimes a filmmaker needs to know when to hang up
When
their
to
gloves
stop.
and stop making movies.
I love this question.
And some people like keep making good shit as they get older. I still like a lot of Tom Waits records. I think he's still making cool
he
stuff.
is the primo example of somebody that improves with time. He's the first one that comes to mind.
And it's also not like worrying about staying with the times in terms of like
He's just
the
doing his
sound
thing.
of records or
Yeah.
the sounds of, or oh, we got to bring in these synths now and these loops. And I think John Lennon would still be pretty much acoustic.
It's interesting to think about him getting his management forwards the email asking him to headline Coachella. Like,
Right.
like what music would he be? Or would he just say, I'm good, I'm done?
Yeah.
And he would have been involved in more,
Political. It would probably be
Political.
purely political
Yeah.
songs, actually.
Yeah.
Probably.
There's a great, I don't know if you guys have seen, Billy Joel was on Letterman once. And Billy Joel famously stopped making records like 25 years ago. He made, I think, 12 records and then stopped because that's how many the Beatles made. He was like, that's what the Beatles did. I made 12 and he stopped writing. He went and did some classical stuff, but he stopped releasing albums of songs. And Letterman goes like, yeah, Elton was on here and he thinks you should have made some more records. And Billy goes, well, I think he should have made less.
We got one more question from the YouTube community. This is from Seth, the tech guy. How do you make the Rhodes or Whirly sound good in a song? Is there specific tones that you want to achieve to get that funky sound? I think one of the things we talked about is play fewer notes. But then there's another thing, I've seen you do this with organ, Larry, which is like your left hand kind of just
Oh, okay, yeah.
does these like little bird chirps
Right.
occasionally, and it adds like a little expressive staccato jab.
Sometimes I just do that just to help myself rhythmically, just to give my, let me hit the offbeat and that'll make this sound funkier or something like
I do that too sometimes with this part of the whirly.
Well, yeah, so you don't hear it.
So,
I do that
yeah.
too.
I literally will be, if I'm playing a part that's like a really weird syncopated part in the right hand,
Sure.
I'll keep time with my left hand and sometimes do extra beats with my thumb on the,
Sure.
Wow, I didn't know you did that.
Yeah.
You could see a lot of piano players just doing that with a bass note. And that's the thing that gives them the little propulsion to play the syncopation against it.
And with that, we will call it a day on Professional Musicians React. Thank you so much for coming and listening and watching. Ooh, beautiful. I love it. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment. Let us know what we should react to next, what we should listen to next. And we come out with new weekly videos every week. So don't forget to subscribe if you want more, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.